So we're going to be talking about building an AI sales machine and introduce a little bit around the concept of second brain, but Chris Krug is the one that really introduced me to that concept, and you're going to hear from him tomorrow, really digging into that. So AI for sales. So ChannelNext was the first group that took a shot at me talking about this topic back in 2018. And it was very much a forward-looking conversation about what's coming and a few tools that sort of worked on a good day. And then we saw the advent of ChatGPT and a lot of venture capital pour into that market. And then we've had some incredible tools and creativity manifest. And so I always try to look at these things through a sales lens as to like what's relevant. How is it impacting sales organizations? And whether you have salespeople or not, you're a sales organization. In fact, if you don't have salespeople, you're the sales organization yourself. And so whether you're a solopreneur or a founder-led seller, or you've got a team, I think some of these principles can really apply. So let's look at these are some of the most recent stats I can find around AI and its impact, potential impact on sales. And this comes from Allego, which Allego has a sales enablement AI-driven platform. And what they found is that 41% of companies expect 5 to 25% of sales roles to be replaced by AI in the next 24 months. So depending on the organization, they're seeing between 5 and 25% of roles being replaced in the next 24 months. That's in their strategic roadmap as sales organizations, right? This is not just aspirational. What they also found is that 54% expect 26 to 75% of roles to be automated. And this is, when someone says to me, is AI really going to replace my job as a sales professional? And my answer is absolutely is going to replace the way you're doing your job today as a sales professional, already has. Is that up to 75% of what you're doing today, from the morning you get up to go to work, to the deal you close, to the client follow-ups, will be done by AI. So what are you going to do with the other 75%? You better have a plan, right? You better have a strategy. It's going to ideally give you an opportunity to get in front of more people, to connect and do what makes you great as a human. That's really hard to replicate from AI, like sitting down last night and having those sidebar conversations and connecting in a meaningful way and applying emotional intelligence to sales opportunities. That's really where we're going to shine or we need to double down on. But at the same side, we can't just rely on that. We have to be equipped. So AI can be an Iron Man suit for sales professionals. And why? Because the Terminator is coming for us, right? So the reality is there's these autonomous systems that are running that are pretty intelligent. And if you're up against a 24/7 prospector and a whole sales tech stack that's out there connecting, robocalling, answering inbound messages, how do you compete? Well, you're not just going to compete through those great people skills. You need to actually armor up with automations, with augmentation to make what you do as a human even better. So start with the human spark and finish with the human fingerprint. And I think this is a really important piece. This is my outlook around leveraging AI for sales and even content marketing. Is that I think that, we've all sat down with ChatGPT and asked it a question that we didn't know anything about, and we're like, that answer sounds amazing. But then when we show that answer to an expert in that area of discipline, the person goes, actually, that's kind of wrong. And there's some context missing here, and this isn't quite right. But on the other side, if you take a really good knowledge base and feed it through that platform, hundreds of thousands of words from experts, and then you ask it that same question, what you get is an incredible output spoken in a language you understand. And so for me, great AI starts with, from a competitive perspective, really comes from an area of subject or domain expertise combined with frameworks and then large language models. And so more simply is that instead of just asking AI, hey, write me a 300-word post on LinkedIn about prospecting in today's era, instead I rant at my microphone from my area of expertise and ask AI to help me write a little better. And at the end, I still put my fingerprint on it. I still go through, even though this thought was mine, I go through at the end and I edit it a little bit so it's got my human fingerprint. And I think some of the best AI-driven sales processes have human guardrails built in. So we slow it down and we humanize it a little bit along the way. And that's our unique special sauce that makes our organization unique as well, so that our sales language doesn't sound like everybody else's, because we're embedding the ethos of who we are into our own internal models. So Bob Ray actually talked about this already, and so I've kind of got a slide here that aligns this really well, is that today, your buyer is in all kinds of different places. So today, we're looking at 25 plus channels for the B2B buyer. And a whole bunch of them are actually now AI-based channels. So just last week, I closed a keynote to speak at a conference. And when I asked the person, where'd you find me? She said, I asked AI. I told them what type of speaker I was looking for in ChatGPT. And it gave me a list, and you were one of those lists. And then I went online, and this is where content marketing and branding becomes important, is then I took a look at your content, and they were right. You were perfect for us. Right, so this is how our decision makers are finding us, is through these AI-based platforms, right? So this is Google 3.0, whatever we want to call it, 5.0, whatever stage we're on. And so, are we developing AI SEO strategies for our organization? How am I getting me into that AI engine so that it talks about me and prioritizes me? And it's a whole different angle. But of course, then we have our regular LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, WhatsApp, and then, showing up at platforms, or showing up at conferences, and obviously shopping and buying through platforms. These are all these areas. So today's sales professional, we look at competency maps. It's not just about getting good at email and cold calls and showing up at events anymore. In fact, it requires a whole new skill set of being really disciplined and capable of being on these channels. How could we be on these channels if we're only leveraging human hours? We need to leverage AI effectively to be present in all of these channels that our clients are in. So this model I shared, let's say a year ago at ChannelNext. And this was what I said the new sales competency map was. And this is what it was. You've got all your traditional sales skills, plus your virtual sales skills and your online, your social marketing and your creativity, and your TQ, which is your technology fluency. And part of that is AI. And all of a sudden you flash forward, and that's 2024. In 2025, we've now moved from using AI to being an agentic partner. So we're inside the AI and partnering with the AI. My knowledge is being fed into it. It's making me better. I'm actually part of these processes. So now AI is actually surrounding the entire sales competency map. It touches all parts, whether it's making us better at our communication skills, which are very human. It's automating things. It's augmenting. It's helping me get out and social network better. So artificial intelligence is now pervasive throughout the whole process, but it's not something we use. It's something we partner with, and we actually iteratively get better with. It's actually a mutual improvement loop. So what is TQ, right, or technology intelligence? Well, down the left side is traditional stuff. Good CRM hygiene, speaks and tech, data interpretation, systems and process design thinking. This doesn't sound like your typical sales role. But today, especially in an SME, if a salesperson wants to do something with sales technology, guess what they're in? Sales process, system process, and design. They're not going to wait around for someone to string some tools together to create an output they want from a sales performance perspective. They're going to have to learn how to evaluate these tools. But beyond that, there's all these AI-based tools. AI governance awareness, prompt writing and AI use, the capacity to build an agent, the capacity to train an agent, the capacity to manage. So yeah, we have human resource managers, which was mentioned before, and now we've moved into agent resource managers, which is a really different type of thinking, but people who will work alongside and actually be responsible for managing agents. And then agent collaborators and tech-fused and embedded. So part of it is understanding how to take my best stuff that makes me unique and get it into my AI so that it multiplies who I am in front of more people. So used incorrectly, AI just enables you to do the wrong thing in front of more people faster. And we have seen this from mass email campaigns to people, I got people that I see them commenting on like 1,100 LinkedIn posts in an hour, really, and they're just doing awful things to the brand as salespeople because they're not using it effectively. So there is some do's and don'ts or some more appropriate factors, and this is why we need the human guardrails. So I don't go to sleep and wake up and realize, oops, I made 1,100 comments last night, right? So for me, we like to start with a sales playbook. So a process and a methodology first. What is your organization's sales playbook? From your ideal client profile to your discovery conversations, to your outreach approach, to your plays at a conference, to your customer event plays if something goes sideways, to your lead nurturing plays, to your large account plays. But what we do often working with our clients, whether we do it for them or they have it already, is we really believe you need a sales playbook and process mapped. These are your best practices, right? These are the things that really work for your organization to grow, scale, acquire clients. Once we do that, then we can bring that unique domain expertise into your AI assistants and agents. And that's where the augmentation and multiplication happens. And I think that's rocket fuel for your business when you combine really domain expertise with custom AI for your organization. So when I think about process, there's 4 big areas that we like to focus on with organizations that we work with, because there are 3 actually, and then the 4th one is to add the AI. But the 3 big ones that move the needle in most cases is number 1, obviously quality, consistent deal flow. And for me, that starts understanding who our 20%ers are in the market that are going to bring us 80% of our business, our ideal client profile. And you combine that with strong content marketing and really well-focused outbound sales teams that are focused on the right niche. Then we have quality conversations. So nothing happens until we have a really great conversation with a potential client. And that's the fulcrum in a deal. Do it wrong and it takes forever to close a deal. And you'll only sell a quarter of what you should be selling to them as far as solutions. Do it right, it accelerates the deal, expands the opportunity, expands the context. Then of course, we've got quality and tenacity of follow-up. So that is on the front end when you meet someone, but also nurturing existing accounts to grow them. And then lastly, once we nail these things and we've really figured them out, then we add a tool like AI to help accelerate that. Too often everybody's like, well, we're not great at discovery conversations. Do you have an AI that'll do it for us? Which maybe, there's a few out there, but they're kind of awkward. But my thought process is let's map out best practices and see how we can use AI to really enhance our team. So one of the things I look at is there's a couple ways to create growth. One is if you want 50% more business, you create 50% more top of the funnel activity. Who here could go to 50% more trade shows and conferences this year? Right? Who would quit? Or right? You know, most people in sales, if you ask them to do 50% more of one activity, they couldn't do it. Or 50% more outbound calls, right? Or 50% more cold outreach on LinkedIn. Maybe. So if this is your 200 leads on the top of a funnel and you're closing 8 deals through this process with various conversion rates, and I tell you that you need to now do 12 deals in the same period of time, you could increase your activity by 50%, right? And it would look something like this. But that also means, like, even from a proposal writing perspective or discovery meeting perspective, that goes up significantly, right? Our schedule doesn't tend to support that. Another way to grow is just to improve. We've all seen this type of thing. Just 5 key areas by 10% each. Could you get 10% better at prospecting? Could you get 10% better at booking appointments? Could you get 10% better at client conversations? Could you get 10% better at writing proposals, which may even mean just getting to the client in 2 days instead of 3? That often will increase conversion rates. And could you get 10% better at asking for the business? And if you could just do that, which is much more manageable in many cases, you get a significant increase. Now, once you fine-tune that, though, then you can start to throw things like artificial intelligence in, where you can really shift the lever. Where using like AI-based tools like Dripify that Chris and I use to prospect on LinkedIn, where I've connected with 1,000 vice presidents of sales globally in the last month while I was sleeping. And started conversations with 50 of them, right? And so when we look at that, all of a sudden that top end starts to accelerate with a well fine-tuned funnel. How am I doing for time, by the way? Am I at half? 10 minutes? 15? Great, fantastic. So here's something interesting is that we all think about, sales acceleration means going faster, but maybe sales acceleration means actually slowing down. So reps who spend 55% of their time on strategic account planning and 45% on tactical execution boosted win rates by 19%. So actually slowing down to think about strategically how I'm approaching accounts with the right data, the right context, at the right time, and the right offering. And when I do that, my win rates go up. So all of a sudden, it isn't about flooding LinkedIn to generate leads or whatever else we're using. It's actually about targeting the right people in the right way with the right context. So one of the first things we want to do is have a really great ideal client profile. So I took an ICP with permission from an MSP client of mine, And I obviously anonymized it, changed the region, changed some of the numbers. But this is an example of an ideal client profile where we break it down under ABCs. So A is your 20%er, B is a decent client but not quite as profitable, and C is one you'll see at the next conference, but you probably don't want to prospect them because it's not going to pay the bills. And so what we do is we build 5 or 6 or 7 major criteria and then segment what an A, B, or C is under each. So this is industry sector, company size, annual revenue, technical adoption potential, tech maturity and risk awareness, and decision maker access. So why am I sharing this? Because I'm talking about AI, not about sales strategy. But part of it is, how do you focus the AI, or how would you leverage AI to help you qualify? So one example is I took this very simply, kind of a Shane hack. This is not a programmer hack, but I took this, put it into a Google Doc, and I shared the link into Perplexity, paid version, so it's not training on my data. And I just said, I'm in sales for an MSSP based in Windsor, Ontario. You can find my ICP or ideal client profile here. My prospect is in Windsor Fulfillment. And I gave the domain. And I'd like you to do the following 3 things. Tell me if it's my ideal client. Give me their top challenges and opportunities in the context of the services I offer. And finally, give me 8 questions I can ask them to get them talking about their problems and their opportunities. And what does it spit out? Well, it spits out a really nice dossier and explains why this is definitely an ideal client for me, with links and background and information based upon their industry, but also press releases on the company. Then it writes down, well, here's the top 10 challenges typically for these types of 3PL companies in regards to cybersecurity and technology. And then here's the questions you should probably ask them that they're not asking themselves to get them really seeing the gaps in their business. And then lastly, I threw in one more question. Hey, give me 30 other companies in the area that might not be in the industry but meet the same risk profile. So this is an example of like AI-driven search. So this query you can do, and you don't have to string it in anything. But then I thought, what if I operationalize this a little bit? And I hacked this together real quickly as a test. This by no means is a finished product, but I went and did something simple, and I put a couple zaps together. So I said, this is Google Sheet that maybe it's posted from a forum, or maybe I scan a business card in an event. It drops that customer information into a Perplexity, call to Perplexity, which does that same report. And then it creates a new account in my Nimble CRM. And also, I actually have it also email that same dossier to me. So it's in the notes in my CRM, a new contact, all that research done, so that when I go to pick up and do a call as a sales professional, I don't have 30 minutes to research the prospect. It gives me all that information in the CRM. Right, so these are examples of building. So the first step is make sure that search query is working for you, or the assistant's working for you, that it works in a duplicatable way, and then start to string it into a process that runs in the background. So here's another one. So I do Filipino martial arts. Earl and I actually do it together a few times a week. And this was me in a tournament, first tournament I'd done in like 20 years. So I was sore the next day, let's put it that way. And you know, I went in and you got this helmet on and you kind of got tunnel vision. It reminded me of sales where you're in on the call and you kind of lose track of everything but just getting the deal done, right? Getting through this sales call. And there's not a lot of context. But luckily, actually, Chris was there and he filmed it for me. So I got some video. And the video analogy is kind of like the transcripts you can now get on a Zoom meeting or on a Teams call, right? See, it's recorded now. So there's something to reflect. And so number one, at least I wasn't just like, I think I know what happened. And Chris is like, yeah, the guy hit you 4 times and you hit him once. That's what happened. I saw that too. And I thought, wow, 4. I thought it was only 2. You know, and so even my perspective. But then later on, as I watched the video, I saw some things. But I don't have expert eyes. I'm not a grandmaster. I'm decent, but I'm not a grandmaster in this discipline. I just have my own narrow knowledge of it. So I went to the grandmaster, who's one of my teachers, Fred. And Fred's got multiple black belts, and he watched the video, the real coach. And he found many things I needed to work on, and also gave me simple, elegant solutions that I didn't have, that I didn't know exist. And so you get this professional person who's able to watch the video. What is that, a 10? Yeah. Watch the video, and what it enabled me really to do is, get this expert advice. But Fred can't watch every fight. I wish he could. I wish he could watch me spar and fight. This past weekend I did 10 matches. I got 1 video recorded. And if I could have somebody actually coach me through every one as an expert, I would improve dramatically. So I take this concept and I go, but I can do this with AI. So what if you and your team had coaching after every call based upon proven best practices customized for you and your business? And Tyler's got one up on that, where their platform actually does it while you're in the call, which is amazing. And we are going to talk about embedding my methodologies into that as soon as possible. Hopefully by tomorrow morning we'll have it done. So I use Fathom to record my calls. You know, you can use Teams or whatever. But then I take that transcript, and by the way, I have my discovery call framework. So these are the 11 things that you should do in a discovery call to be highly effective, right? And I'll have a QR code for you to download this at the end as well. And also the URL is at the bottom of the page, but please take photos, but tag me if you don't mind, in Instagram, at Shane Gibson. But so I look at, lead with rapport, frame the call, start future first, contrast present state, drill down deep, uncover root causes, ask blind spot questions. There's a series of things. So I take this framework, plus what I did is, I built a custom assistant within the OpenEye system, and I uploaded transcripts, like a 1-hour transcript of me talking about how to run great discovery calls. I uploaded my manuals on it. I uploaded our frameworks. I uploaded an example of a great scorecard for a call, plus my framework, and then I fought with it or encouraged it or trained it, whatever you want to call. It took a while to basically be able to evaluate these transcripts like me, but without me being there. So I now drop these in, and what it spits out is this great report ranking me on all these areas of competence. These are how well the call went, what went well and what didn't go well, and what I could do better for my next call. So imagine if every single sales call you did, you had this coaching available, right? And so what I found for me is I was scoring, and I teach this, but this is not surprising to anybody who knows I like to talk, is I was scoring about 7.5 out of 10 on average a few months ago. And by applying my own methodologies to myself, I'm now scoring an average of 8.5 out of 10 per call. And so it's really interesting to see that constant coaching can help us improve. So again, once I figured that out, now I set it up so that whenever I do a Fathom call, it drops it into the assistant, it emails me my actual report on how the call went, and it also drops it into Google Docs so that we now start to build this great knowledge base of all of our calls evaluated, scored, and the whole transcript in there, that I can then throw that into a system like Google LM and ask it to build a podcast on how Shane's calls went last month. All right, and so these are some of the workflows you can put in this process. But this is about getting better in an automated way. So here's a prompt you can do at the end of any call, the transcript, that I think is pretty cool. Those of us that do style-based training, you'd like this. You're a certified DISC personality coach who specializes in sales coaching. Review this transcript, identify the client's DISC profile, and tell me, how could I sell and write to them better next time around? And it gives you some really good coaching and insights on how you can adjust your approach. So here's some of the custom GPTs I've built. I've actually, in the landing page, threw up 3 of them if you want to try them. One of them is a discovery analyzer, one's a value proposition builder, and one's an ideal client profile builder that you can play around with and interact with. But there's everything from content writing. The big one for me is proposals have gone from 3 hours to 15 minutes each. So some weeks it saves me 5 to 8 hours, which is amazing. And then I can go do Filipino martial arts with Earl instead of being stuck behind my desk. And so lastly, have I got 5 minutes or 3? I'm going to say I got 5. Here we go. So this is one that Earl's going to spend more time talking about, but this is something I do because I'm my own marketer as well and brand builder. Is utilizing AI, I'm able to take one video and turn it into 55 pieces of content that go on the internet. And that would traditionally have taken me plus somebody else 20 to 30 hours to do that. It now takes me 3 to 5. So I take a video like a keynote, and this is me keynoting the MicroAge conference a little while back. I drop it into QSO.ai, which gives me a full transcript, but then breaks out and builds, I didn't put all 12 clips on here, but it builds 12 clips with a mini transcript for each. Then I take that transcript and I put that into my Content Waterfall Assistant, which is the tool that I use to take a big piece of content, and it builds me 2 blog posts, 4 LinkedIn posts, plus it rewrites all my captions into mini descriptions, optimized for keywords. And then basically what I've got is I got content for 2 months. Right? And what it's done for me is, this is why one of the secret elements of getting optimized well in AI search is AI doesn't care about inbound links. They care about It cares about distributed expertise across the internet. So how many different places are people talking about you and that you're in those places seen as an expert in very human-centric platforms, and that drives it. 1 minute? 5. Oh, wow, okay, this is even fantastic. So let me slow us down a bit here. So what this has done was really interesting is B2B buyers, yes, they're all over the place, they want to do it themselves, but because they're part, even if, most people, even baby boomers I know, are spending a lot of time scrolling TikTok and Instagram. And if you ask, who here has, and this is going to be interesting, who here has purchased a product as a result of scrolling through Instagram? Did you follow that attention, interest, desire, action, traditional consideration funnel for marketing? No, it's like, ooh, I like that. And in less than if you're halfway through a 60-second clip and you're too impatient to watch the whole thing, you're like, yeah, I'm buying that. And the strange thing is, it's starting to happen with business buyers. So I have people reaching out to me saying, I really like your stuff, I'd like to work with you. What you said really resonated. And I saw this video on X, and I want to book you to come in and speak and put you in front of my whole team. I trust you for that. And I realized they've watched a 60-second clip of one of my keynotes. And based upon that small piece of content, have made a decision to reach out, contact, and enter the sales funnel. And so the atomization of your thought leadership, where you take it and you break it up into all these little pieces and distribute it around the internet effectively, really can't be done without AI. And at the next level is, I shouldn't be running this off the corner of my desk as the CEO and founder of my company. I should have now mapped this process and then work with virtual assistants to drive that process. So now I'm completely free. It's systemized, it's in my voice because I trained this to write like me. Now someone else can run it, right? I don't have to put the human fingerprint on it. They've got the formula. So again, 55 pieces of thought leadership content off of one keynote or one ChannelNext interview, right? These are, eChannel News interview. These are the things that we can now do. So lastly, building your AI sales machine. Start with a sales playbook and a mapped process, right? So again, without that, we might be doing the wrong thing in front of more people faster, right? We want to make sure we've got our strategy nailed down. Then automate repetitive steps, ones that the humans actually slow down. Things that we're cutting and pasting and writing proposals and moving pixels around, and the stuff that's actually not related to selling and connecting with other people. And then augment human skills with AI to make us better, like better at conversations, right? These are things that we can do. Perfect your AI assistants and agents first before you plug them all together and multiply the inefficiencies, like figure out the cogs in the system. Then put them together for a real agentic, AI-driven sales system. And keep investing in your humanity, because that is that partnership piece that really is going to set us aside, is the emotional intelligence, the leadership skills, the political skills, right? The empathy skills. These are still vital, but need to be partnered with AI. And lastly, is build your AI second brain. And a good example is my ability to take the way I write and duplicate it on the internet so that I no longer have to do that. But the content that is created is really based upon my lifetime knowledge. All my books, everything is uploaded in there that we can pull from. And so now I've got something that I can iterate with, I can ask questions, I can help it, formulate even the way I'm writing and give me feedback based upon my own stuff. And or I can pass that over to Claudia, who I work with, who now uses my proposal writer that writes like me. And it has massively impacted our ability to do business. So this is your QR code. There's a few things on there. One thing I haven't had a chance to talk about is, of course, you're going to come up. You're coming up. You're going to chase me off stage. All right. No. So go ahead.
Now I'm going to grab the other one.
All right, perfect. And so, one of the things is that a big part of it, and this is a thought for leadership, is from a TQ perspective. A 4 can't lead a 9. So if we're leading salespeople and we're a 4 in AI use and sales, and they're an 8 or 9, we're in trouble. We're going to lose credibility. They're going to go look for an organization with a better sales tech stack and who are embracing the rocket ship of AI. And so I think as leaders, if we're going to attract the right people and retain them, we've got to invest in our own capacity, right, to understand it. Julian.
So this is just flavor 1 of the AI. This stuff, I'm pretty sure has anybody ever seen this kind of stuff before in this detail? And this is a very, very tight version of this, right? So it's starting And what you can have is a quick jump start. I've actually been taking their course, by the way, and Chris, and I'm just like a fly on a wall type thing looking at it, and it's crazy brilliant because what it does, it takes you through that journey. So I'd encourage everybody, if this thing looks like a bit like Mumbo Jumbo, to take a bit of a course and walk it through. It's 6 weeks.
Yeah.
It's one Thursday, I think, every
week, 2 hours. Yep.
You get homework, which
and coaching.
And coaching.
Yeah.
You need to learn this stuff. It's not going to happen overnight. Today we just, Shane just showed you how to do it with sales, with a little bit of marketing.
And I gave you a 2-hour keynote in 30 minutes, so I apologize. Chris already said, dude, you got to delete some slides. I'm like, I don't know what to delete, so I'm going to fire hose it.
So you see how you can leverage AI to accelerate these things. And we've got marketing that's going to come up. We're going to be talking about how you use AI agents with Manoj and how you can actually build your agents. I tell you, until today, 2025, I was not ready to open a Pandora's box of AI. Honestly, I wanted to keep it closed, truth be told. But it's out there now. And I'm actually seeing results with people who understand how to use AI. Vendors can use this. MSPs can use this. Your customers can use this. You now have a solution that you can go and sell to your customers. I always say that when you want to sell something to somebody, you got to tell them something that they don't know. Don't tell me something I know. Yeah, that's cool. Tell me something I don't know. I'll bet you, 9 times out of 10, if you present information like this to your customers, they've never heard of this before. They don't understand how to integrate. 76% of all CEOs says AI will change the way they do business in the next year or two. Yeah, but what's the other 24% thinking? Okay, first of all. Second of all, how will it change your business? Flavor 1. We got 5 more flavors to go between today and tomorrow. And I encourage you at the end of the mastermind session, again, sit down with Shane and Chris and all the other amazing AI people to dig in a little bit deeper to figure what's going on.